Umapaw ang Sinukalan River dahil sa 2 araw na buhos ng ulan sa Pangasinan. Baha sa buong bayan ng Kalasyaw na isa sa mga catch basin ng lalawigan. Katabi ng ilog ang barangay Talibao na lagpas tawang baha. Yero na lang ang makikita sa ilang mga bahay. Ang ibang residente nag-akyatan na sa ikalawang palapag ng kanilang bahay. Pero problemado ang malinis na tubig.
Patuloy ang pagbuhos ng ulan sa Hilagang Luzon, kaya karamihan lubog pa rin sa baha. Sa Dagupan City, 18 barangay na ang nagdeklara ng state of calamity. Sa Kalasyaw, idineklara rin ang state of calamity dahil sa dami ng pamilyang binaha.
Ninirbyos ako dahil ang akala ko hindi natataas yung tubig, yung pala tumas pa rin. Hanggang malapit na sa may pinagtutulugan namin.
The Philippine Integrated Context Analysis in the March 2014 preliminary study of the World Food Program mentioned that between the years 1982 to 2013, there is an increasing number of people affected by flood. In the last 10 years, 1.3 million people are affected in the Philippines because of flood. And the years 2010 and 2012 are considered as the high flooding years, which affected 2.4 million people in the Philippines. United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction said that flooding can arise from the overflowing of river or heavy rainfall from a short period of time or unusual inflow of seawater onto land, such as storm surge, tidal flooding, seismic events like tsunami and large landslides. The World's Disaster Report declared that 44% of deaths caused by natural disasters was due to floods, and the report was declared last 2013, in which 100 million people were affected, and Asia was the most affected region in the world. On that same year, Typhoon Haiyan wrecked the Philippines, or several provinces in the Philippines, in which 16 million people were displaced by the natural disaster and 6,300 people or casualties were recorded. The Philippines experiences an average of 20 tropical cyclones per year, and most often it exceeds that number. The effects of natural disasters are very visible, and it ultimately affects the stakeholders in the community. It largely affects the lives of the people, particularly the businessmen. The education of the children are also affected, the livelihood of the community, and even the health of the citizens. Every time flooding occurs in a community, the lives of the people always have to start from scratch after the devastation. Such occurrence seems like a normal routine for the people in the provinces who are more frequently or most frequently affected by typhoons every year. In places where people would normally expect to experience flooding like Pangasinan, current government infrastructure projects for disaster mitigation seems ineffective to eliminate the adverse effects of flooding. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Corteza, and this is the video presentation of my research proposal entitled The Efficacy of Community Workshop in the Utilization of Kanongkong Flood Warning Device in Barangay Poblacion, Lingayen, Pangasinan. The research problem: how well does community workshop help in preparing the townspeople of Lingayen from flooding through the use of Kanongkong flood warning device? Specifically, the researcher aims to answer the following questions. Number 1, what are the factors that will encourage the participants or the stakeholders to participate in the community workshop regarding the use of Kanongkong flood warning as a flood warning device? Number 2, does the presentation about Kanongkong as a flood warning device help or improve the understanding of the stakeholders or the participants in the community workshop? Number 3, Would lecture or discourse of providing information about Kanongkong flood warning device help the participants to know more about the system? And number 4, does the demonstration or the usage of Kanongkong help to enhance the knowledge of the participants? And number 5, what are the goals of the participants after the community workshop? The objectives of the study: number 1, to enhance the knowledge of the participants about the importance and proper utilization of Kanongkong flood warning device. Number 2, to mitigate adverse effects of flooding in the municipality of Lingayen. Number 3, to empower the people of Lingayen to survive natural calamities. Number 4, to know the efficacy of community workshops such as lectures, video presentation, and demonstration on how to use Kanongkong as a flood warning device. Number 4, to know the efficacy of community workshops such as lecture presentation, audio-video presentation, and demonstration on how to use Kanongkong as a flood warning device. Number 5, to build a resilient and knowledgeable community that can survive natural calamities such as flood. Number 6, to increase the technical knowledge of the stakeholders in the utilization of Kanongkong as a flood warning device. Number 7, to create a community of committed leaders dealing with flood risks. Community workshops are being utilized around the world in various institutional organizations in both the public and private sectors. Community workshops continually serve as a guide in the implementation of rules in the community during natural disasters such as flooding. It also aims to lessen the adverse effects or impacts of flood hazards in the community. I will conduct a community workshop about the utilization of Kanongkong flood warning device in Barangay Poblacion, Lingayen, in Pangasinan. Community workshop is an important communication tool in the study because it encourages the stakeholders in the community to work and learn together to solve the problems of flooding. Community workshop does not employ the linear form of communication, but it highly encourages stakeholders to participate in the activities. Community workshop encourages the stakeholders to provide recommendations in order to solve the problems, and it also becomes a venue where stakeholders can voice out their opinions about various community concerns. In this case, they can even more provide insights and relevant information about the utilization of Kanongkong as a flood warning device. Sharing ideas is one of the key important factors of community workshop because it trains the decision-making capacity of each stakeholder. Thus, the interaction produces valuable results which can help the community solve its disaster-related problem. More specifically, as in the case of perennial flooding experienced by Barangay Poblacion in Lingayen. And since Lingayen experiences perennial flooding, the Kanongkong technique will enable the people of Lingayen to protect themselves and their families from death due to unforeseen serious damages caused by flooding. The technique will also help infrastructure builders to formulate an applicable construction design for more resilient buildings, houses, and other community structure to provide strong shelter for the people of Barangay Poblacion in Lingayen. The community workshop will also discuss and tackle the primary health concerns of the people with respect to flood-related diseases during rainy and flooding seasons. The utilization of Kanongkong flood warning device in Barangay Poblacion through community workshop is an important study because it emphasizes and honors the use of indigenous knowledge. Even before the existence of modern flood warning system, our ancestors had found ways on how they can protect their environment and save their lives during natural calamities. And various indigenous groups in the country believe in the meaning of winds, the movement of seawater, the sun created by the environment, and the messages from gods of their tribes as warning signs to urge our ancestors to evacuate evacuate to higher locations in order for them to survive and save their lives. It is a reality that the transfer of technology from modern to primitive marks an important appreciation and collaboration of knowledge for the advancement of human life.
Kanungkong came from the word mangkanungkong, which means to make a sound. Kanungkong is made up of bamboo and when hit with a stick produces the sound kung kung kung. Originally, kanungkong was used before as a communication device by Dagupan City, nearby towns and other provinces in northern Luzon. Traditionally, it is used to call the community to assemble in the barangay halls for meetings. It is also used by barangays to alert the people from a robbery incident. This device also helps in the delivery of pregnant women since it signals the need for midwives, and for a time, it is also used to call the children to come home. But this indigenous knowledge has long been forgotten. Gone were the days when sounds and signals incorporate meanings in the community. Kanungkong then was a product of indigenous knowledge. The table explains the warning codes adopted in Dagupan City. It is divided into colors, alert, warning signal made by the kanungkong. When the color is white, it means ready, and its alert means normal. When the color is yellow, it means get set, and its alert, there is danger or warning. Warning signal, 5 strikes of the kanungkong at 20 minutes interval. Orange means go, and its alert, prepare for evacuation or proceed to holding area, heavy flooding approaches. Warning signal, 10 strikes at 20 minutes interval. When the color is red, it means full evacuation. Evacuate from homes to designated safe areas. It is forced evacuation. Warning signal, non-stop, 15 strikes at 10 minutes interval. And when green color is indicated, it means we have to go back to normal. In order to implement the utilization of kanungkong flood warning device, medium must be used to disseminate information. In this case, I used community workshops such as lecture, video presentation, and demonstration on how to use kanungkong flood warning device and flood markers when anticipating floods.
This study employs 2 grand theories, including functional group decision-making theory and Kincaid's convergence theory. For functional group decision-making theory, it moves beyond the general focus of communication in groups to a more specific focus on decision-making. Guran and Hirokawa are the key researchers associated with the functional approach to group communication. I took this as part of my theoretical framework because of its 4 requisite functions that includes problem analysis, goal setting, identification of alternative solutions, evaluate and select the solution. The first requisite function of functional group decision-making theory is problem analysis. This means that the group must take a realistic look at the nature, extent, and likely causes of the problem. There should be a differentiation between problems and symptoms of problems. The second requisite is goal setting, which necessitates that all members are clear about what they are trying to accomplish, and it also includes the identification of ideal solution. And the third requisite is identify alternative solution. It generates a large number of possible solutions. This requisite encourages the use of brainstorming in a group in order to come up with various possible solutions. And the fourth involves evaluating and selecting the solution. This function helps to evaluate possible solutions generated in the previous function.
The researcher will also utilize the study that deals with Kincaid's convergence theory that is considered as the general communication model that remedies the criticisms and limitations of the other prevailing communication models, such as Shannon and Weaver's mathematical model. D. Lawrence Kincaid developed the convergence theory of communication in 1979 that shows the model represented communication as letter A process rather than a single action, letter B, sharing or exchange of information rather than one-way transmission, letter C, two or more participants in dialogue, letter D, a means to clarify the confusion between information, knowledge, messages, symbols, and meaning, and letter E, a self-correcting feedback process defined dynamically as a diminishing characteristic or series of corrections that enable communicators to converge on a. The Kincaid's convergence theory is an important framework in the study because it emphasizes the usage of the word convergence, which entails that the participants in the communication process need to share information in order to attain a certain goal or understanding. The convergence model also shows that a mutual understanding will be achieved if information within the communication process are shared and delivered to each member of the group. In reality, messages can be interpreted differently. With the usage of the convergence theory, participants can attain level of mutual understanding in order to achieve a common goal. Kincaid's conversion theory is the most important theory in the study because it emphasizes the importance of using a community workshop to attain a certain goal, and that is to present the utilization of Kanongkong flood warning device. Community workshop employs various community interactions or communication interactions, such as in the case of interactive discourse or lectures. The interactive discourse or lecture in the workshop encourages communication between the speaker and the listener, but because it is interactive, the conversation between the speaker and the participant is not just a linear form of communication. Discourse in the community workshop encourages the participants to express their views and perceptions towards the subject matter. Therefore, there is interpretation of information and expression of understanding in the communication process. This method of interpreting and expressing opinions and views becomes a continuous cycle of interaction before arriving at an end goal or mutual understanding. But since Kanongkong is a new instrument in the community of Lingayen, stakeholders are expected to question each and every reason of its existence and importance, and some of them might not consider the effectiveness of the instrument, but because of continuous interaction, people will arrive at the conclusion that Kanongkong could actually help ease the perennial problem of flooding in the community of Barangay Poblacion in Lingayen, Pangasinan. The study has a specific mandatory population of 30 participating individuals. The participants include stakeholders in the community, such as the local Barangay Disaster Coordinating Council of Poblacion, barangay officials, youth representatives, entrepreneurs, and 10 household representatives. These groups of participants are selected for the study because they are the community stakeholders. Community stakeholders have interest in the improvement of the community. The development of a community brings improvement to the lives of the stakeholders. I will employ the survey research design, more specifically the cross-sectional survey. I will conduct a survey research through the use of questionnaires, unstructured interviews, observation, and analysis of documents. The participants will respond in writing by answering the provided questionnaires of the researcher. This survey helps to reveal the respondents' thoughts, feelings, and intentions. This procedure of employing survey questionnaires will help the researcher describe and explain the characteristics of the stakeholders and their community. 10 participants will also undergo an unstructured interview after each workshop. These participants will be given the chance to explain more their opinions and ideas regarding the usage of Kanongkong flood warning device. The interview is an unstructured type, therefore follow-up questions will be done by the researcher in order to clarify relevant information given by the participants. I will also employ participant observation because it uses the researchers' five senses. I will learn a lot from observing and participating in the workshop. I will also discover relevant characteristics of the study through observation and participation. I will immerse in the 3-day community workshop to gain experience or association from the stakeholders, and observation is one of the most relevant way to acquire information.
Si Mang Ray, iniaangat ang tubo ng poso para may mapagkuhanan ng tubig. Yan po ay hindi nakakayanin. Saan kayo kukuha?
Meron pong mga ano dyan, medyo mataas na talaga, kaya lang kailangan namin ng bangka para makakuha kami, pila-pila.
Paano pa mga palikuran nyo?
Mga lubog na po siya.
Saan po kayo nag-share niyan?
Ano po siya, flying saucer na.
Marami sa mga residente ayaw lumikas at mas piniling manatili sa bubong kapiling ang mga alagang hayop. Para makabili ng pagkain, nagbabangka na lang sila para makapunta sa bayan. Pero si Lola Remy naiiyak dahil taon-taon na lang itong nangyayari. Hirap siyang maghanap ng pagkain.
Magbubuhay kami sa mayroon. Ngayon, nag-ulam ako ng agamang.
Hirap din ang transportasyon sa karatig bayan ng San Vicente. Hindi na ito mapasok ng tricycle, kaya ang namamasada, mga kuliglig na.
Kaya malaking tulong sa mga kababayan natin.
Ipinatupad naman ng pwersa ang paglikas sa mga binahang lugar sa Dagupan City. Tumaas na kasi ang tubig sa barangay Maluwad. Gamit ang rubber boat, pinasok ng rescue team ang mga bahay, inilikas ang mga bata, buntis at matatanda. Sa kabuuan, aabot sa 400 pamilyang inilikas sa Pangasinan. Isa ang napabalitang nalunod. Isinailalim din sa state of calamity ang bayan ng Santa Barbara.
We don't want our fellow Filipinos to continually suffer the adverse effects of flooding and typhoons. We still have to step up and discover new ways on how to mitigate the risk brought by natural disasters. And we have to continue learning to improve our lives and continue to discover ways on how to protect our people, our properties, and livelihood from disasters. After all, we are humans who have the capacity and the capability to survive